Hi everyone, welcome to Crespect Talks. Legal profession is quite known for guiding others through change, through challenges, and through crisis. Yet when it comes to embracing a change, embracing the change that AI brings, many law firms still hesitate. Why? Well, in today's episode, let's try unravel it together. And I would like to welcome today Lembit Loo, strategic advisor, transformation expert, and David Baskerville, legal tech consultant, law firm consultant advising lawyers on technology changes that they bring. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
And yeah, for everyone watching us on LinkedIn, please feel free to jump in with questions, comments, so we'll get back to them as soon as we can, like if we're not discussing heavily. Let's start from recent highlights. So recently, PricewaterhouseCoopers, this law firm survey, showed that half of the firms still see AI as a threat rather than an opportunity. And none of the top law firms have yet monetized AI. So it sounds like there's like a lot of buzz, a lot of challenge. So how to address it, how to tackle it. So let's dive in. Lembit, you've seen like a lot of transformation efforts across global institutions. Could you first give us a brief like elevator pitch, highlighting your professional experience in encouraging such like digitalization or technological change?
Yes, absolutely. From my side, I would have to say that I will take a bit more broader picture, as I've worked with law firms less, but I do spend quite a bit of time working with private sector organizations and public sector organizations, also some nonprofits and development cooperation in discussing the topics of AI and adoption, and also the AGI revolution and the superintelligence, what's coming up as well, and having many discussions in those areas. I think the view of hesitance is quite common, and there are some real and perceived fears, concerns, challenges that definitely come into the play when organizations are looking at how to implement the artificial intelligence. And combine that with also the term being quite broad and meaning many things to many people, and also additional complexities of understanding what is AI, what is the artificial general intelligence, what is the superintelligence that's coming, and how they work together, and combined with the personal view of those things as well. So I think that is quite natural, and also my experience is that the legal industry is quite conservative in nature, as it should be, and that is a great thing. And from that standpoint, I definitely see that the adoption will be systematic, but it may be a bit slower than maybe some other industries coming in.
Mm-hmm. Is there any specifics? Why do you think like, well, you've touched the legal industry quite a bit. Do you think apart from the conservative side, is there anything particular why us, the lawyers, are like even more resistant than any like general society?
Well, I think one part is definitely the question of certainty and limiting the risk. That using AI, very common feedback or response that I get when I start discussing with organizations is that, well, I just tried ChatGPT and it lied to me. And there are hallucinations, there are different areas where you can't really trust the results, or the results are not what you're expecting. But and so that's one part of it. And with the lawyers having the responsibility of being truthful to the customers and to the society, I think that's definitely one part of it. The other part of it is purely the classic challenges without adoption any technology, whether it's the ERP systems, CRM systems, any other type of system. It's actually the gap between the technical expertise and understanding what the technical capabilities are, and how to really implement it and bring it into the business processes and the customer service processes of organizations. So there are many different areas over there.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Thanks, Lembit. David, let's introduce you a little bit to the audience. You're consulting law firms. Is it daily or?
Yeah, we work completely in the legal sector, supporting law firms. So law firms and barristers. So yeah, we sort of like fill that gap between what lawyers need to do and what technology is out there. So we help them assess what is available, how they could be making better technology. So yeah, that is what we do, and we do that 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. But what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with the fear of change in general, or is there something deeper related to the AI adoption? Is maybe the business model working here in the background, and we cannot change anything while law firms operate how they operate?
So I think there's been a real change with lawyers. I mean, when I first started working with lawyers, there was a lot of skepticism about technology. I think a lot of that has now overcome, and lawyers are generally wanting to use technology. The flip side is the technology is not quite delivering to what they need yet. So as Lembit said, they need precision, they need exactness, and it's a lovely quaint word, hallucination, but actually the lawyer's side is just wrong. They can't hallucinate to court, and we've seen a number of cases now where ChatGPT has just made up cases or has been fed cases which don't exist, and lawyers can't do that. So a lot of the concern about adopting AI is about, well, what risk and compliance do we need to put around this, and does the risk and compliance that we put around it then outweigh the use of it? So I think the block is in some way rarely technical. They are that sort of psychological risk profile that we have to put around things. But also I think there is an over-optimism in law firms. They are looking for a quick fix. They are looking for something that's easy to turn on. And we still have that approach. So we turn it on and we try one thing, we don't get the answer we want, we don't bother with it. So I think training firms into the fact they need to work out and understand where it's going to give you good answers, where it's not, is the hardest part here, because there is a general, again, as Lembit said earlier, this broad brush term AI. And actually some of the things that have been sold as AI effectively just next versions of products, and there hasn't really a lot of new stuff in there. Some of it is vaporware, some of it is futureware, and it's that reality that the law firms need to go, what can I use today? What is going to help me today? You ask about the commercials and the approach, and obviously the traditional ownership model is a bit challenging for them, saying, well, we're going to invest in something now, it's going to return in 5 years' time. So that developmental approach doesn't really exist in a lot of firms. You are seeing it in the large firms. Large internationals have innovation, but for what I would call your normal law firm in the UK still sits in that 100 to 300 style bracket is a large part of the market. And those firms don't have that sort of, we're going to invest now and we get returns in 4 or 5 years' time. So I think those are the brackets. But I think the danger we're seeing in the market at the moment is actually firms doing AI because everyone else is doing AI and nobody actually understanding what that is, what the returns are, and not getting prepared, not wanting to be burnt by investing time in understanding and seeing where it'll benefit.
Mm-hmm. Let's pitch in the audience. Could you also share, what do you think, what are the barriers, the biggest barriers in adopting technology, adopting AI today? So I'm curious to see more insights from others joining us today. So Lembit, today I've heard in one of the podcasts of yours, EGI, Estonian General Intelligence, by the way, recommending to check it out on Spotify. You've used this phrase.
Thank you for the shout out.
I think it's incredible what you're doing. So congrats. You've used this phrase of becoming partners with machine intelligence. I think for lawyers, for the partnership model is quite common, but for partners, it might sound fearful and frightening. How can I become partner with machine intelligence? What does it look? How in practice? How it works? What does it mean for a lawyer to have a partner, machine intelligence partner?
Absolutely, and this one is almost, I have to hold myself back or ask how much time do we have, because this is the topic that I spend most of my time on, and especially when in LinkedIn posts and other discussions and getting involved, and also with my podcast discussions as well. And when I talk about becoming a partner with artificial intelligence, this is really kind of the next step of moving from AI to AGI and ASI to follow. And
explain us the AGI
yes,
and ASI.
AI, artificial intelligence, AGI, artificial general intelligence, and ASI, artificial superintelligence. Now, it's an interesting thing here is that that there are so many different definitions for these terms, and that adds definitely to the confusion. And even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the producer of ChatGPT, said that if you ask 10 researchers in OpenAI the definition of AGI, you will get 14 different definitions. So it can be confusing. In general, AI is the set of technologies and the tools and the extension of kind of analytics and the things that we're using every day, language models, the things that we're using for video editing, the text analysis, and all the other aspects, cancer research, all of those things. AGI is now the step where the artificial intelligence will start bypassing humans. Now that's where the definitions come in, whether it's bypassing one human, average human, or all humans. And in general, it said that it's kind of can be considered kind of average human. And super intelligence is when the AI actually bypasses all the humans combined and gets to the level of intelligence that will be quite impossible for us to comprehend. And but in simpler terms, when I'm talking about moving from AI or distinction between AI and AGI, I am discussing that the AI set of tools, whether it's a language model, whether it's a video editor, whether it's the picture editor, whether it's an analysis tool, whether it's a programming or agentic tool, it's still a technology. When we're talking about AGI, we're talking about another intelligence actually joining us at the table, and we can start having conversations with it and getting insights and working with that intelligence. And this is where I really advise the organizations to kind of make that shift and start thinking about it, that you have somebody who's actually quite intelligent, and in many cases more intelligent than humans. ChatGPT, they estimate that ChatGPT has 5 Pro has intelligence of 148 IQ. So from that standpoint, the insights and the thoughts you can get from there are quite significant. And even with the situations like hallucinations and other kind of challenges that there are, I strongly say that I think people who are using effectively artificial intelligence tools today are 2, 3, 4 times more efficient and effective than the people who don't. And this is actually something that while preparing for this discussion, I looked at different statistics, of course, using mostly the AI tools to do that, including using the tools to fact check and cross-reference between the different models. So I had Gemini actually checking what ChatGPT produced and vice versa. So I'm fairly confident that they came back with good information because I checked the references as well. And they say that it's actually, there is an interesting trend coming, that the division between the law firms that are using and that are not using. Actually, the law firms that are actively adopting the artificial intelligence are actually, their revenues are growing significantly faster, and the others are starting to stay behind. And also from the user standpoint, there is this Valve Legal AI report that says that, for example, in document quality analysis, they compare AI tools versus humans, and you have 94% accuracy with AI tools versus 70% of accuracy with humans. So from that standpoint, there are a couple of things that, it's a very long answer to the short question. I apologize for that. But when I'm talking about bringing in and when working as a partner with AI, I really recommend the leaderships and organizations and people themselves to consider, AI as effective partner in all of the activities that they're encountering.
Mm-hmm. So Lembit saying that there has to be another chair at the table, another engine at the table. So David, how do you see that? Is there room? Does the mindset, the legal mindset, collide with it, or can they accommodate such partner?
I was just looking at what Lembit was saying, and I think he pulled out a couple of good examples there. I think one of the failings of AI at the moment within the legal sector is a lot of excitement is around the generative side. It's the create me something from nothing, and people are looking for that first draft or create me something, where actually I think the trick that we should be looking at is actually the the things that can analyze what we've got and make record is actually where AI is the real strength. So, uploading 100 documents and looking for commonalities and things like that. Those are the sorts of tools which you're going to get better results from than if you're looking for AI to create something. So I think what I would also say is there seems to be a little bit of a mindset that we need to buy AI product, where actually there are so many different products. And again, in Lembit's thing there, he talked about using Gemini versus ChatGPT and comparing results. Where actually one of the challenges law firms have is the investment budget, where would they buy 3 or 4 different tools and use them to assess the outputs? They probably wouldn't, because they haven't got that data scientist mind. So I think really it is horses for courses, and to say we have a particular problem, what tools do we have to address that problem? And I would recommend law firms start looking at a lot of things that are low-hanging fruit. So things like document reviews, things where you can say, we would have had 3 or 4 paralegals looking at these documents. We can now analyze those documents in a fraction of the time. But it's quite interesting as well, because one of the challenges our firms are talking about is how do we now charge on for this time? Because there's a lot of pressure from clients to do things quicker, more efficient, cheaper, use tools. But actually these tools are really expensive. Some of them are £400-500 per user per month when you sort of added all the options in. So you're taking a cost to bring in these tools, but your clients are expecting you to do it a cheaper way. So a really interesting point there is the firms, Lembit said, we're more profitable with the ones using these tools.
They're generating more revenue. More revenue. What about the profit?
Yeah, what about the profit? So how are you then passing on those charges? So I think probably a point I should have made in my first bit was to say, whenever you're looking at AI tools, is you've got to look at what are your problems and find a solution. Don't go looking for AI to answer your problems that you don't know yet. So do you know what I mean? It's all analyze where in your business is inefficient, or you think you could do things, and then find a tool to fix it. Where again, I think too many firms are rushing out to buy AI to say they've got it without fully thinking through what does that mean. Because just to repeat my point, I think there is a lot of excitement and willingness in the market to use these tools, but the disappointment is because we're not doing enough work on what are the problems these tools can fix, rather than finding a tool which we then want to use.
Yeah.
So that's really that there. Yeah. And I think
or like whatever tools are popular right now. What are the flashy ones? What others are using the FOMO,
Yeah, exactly. I think there is a heck of a lot of FOMO and not enough what are our unique problems as a business. And then let's find some tools, which may be AI and maybe something else, but let's focus on fixing the things we want to make our business more efficient rather than jumping on the bandwagon. I think, the other thing we'd say in there is that wrapper of compliance that firms are having to put around these things. And, Lembit again gave a really good example that you take product out of one tool and compare it with another tool. I don't think that's a natural approach that law firms are taking, because they're expecting their platform to be robust and accurate. So again, that's probably a really good hint there from people to say, don't just choose one source of truth, compare it. Just like the old days of when, I'm getting old these days, but when I was at university, it's like, well, don't just rely on one book, go and get another book to prove at that point. And it's not just one author's whim. That's that sort of approach really that Lembit's emphasising is multiple models to do that.
Lembit, could you elaborate a little bit about that? I think lawyers will enjoy it.
Yes.
How to consider it? It's a partner, but not fully reliable partner. How is it?
This one I would challenge, actually. That the notion that AI is less reliable than humans. I think this notion is starting to go away, and I think it's important in those discussions to keep the comparison fair. For example, there's a good example about self-driving cars. People are still saying that no, they're not safe. There are challenges. There are accidents every now and then. When there is an accident, it gets a lot of publicity and attention. Last week I was in a conference and I saw one of my idols, 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, who is the ex-CEO of Google X, speaking. And he actually brought out a couple of really good points. He said that we've had actually self-driving cars being safer than human drivers since 2007, and 20 times more safer since 2013. So from that standpoint, the reason we don't have more self-driving cars on the streets is actually the slow legislations, the slow adoptions, the natural fears, the people being uncomfortable by sitting in a car that there is no driver in it, and other aspects. And I think here this is the case as well. And the technologies and the language models and the tools that use the language models are getting much better these days in actually addressing the hallucinations and the different aspects as well. And the other comparison that I would bring, and I keep asking this, is how is hallucination different from what we do as people? I know that I've definitely been in a situation that having a conversation with somebody, I say that, remember 2 years ago in the summer, we were at this concert and, this, my friend Michael did this or something. And somebody says that, no, that wasn't actually Michael, that was John. And I go, oh, you're right. I totally forgot it wrong. And when you talk to people who actually research it a bit more deeper, there is a good discussion about the fact whether it's a hallucination or whether it's confabulation, and how much is that actually different from what the human brain does, and how the human brain, or the LLM that's in our brain, as I like to say, comes up with the new information. And maybe one more additional point that I'll bring in here, and is I listened to an interview with Mustafa Suleyman, who's the CEO of Microsoft AI. And he had a discussion about this, and he's like, people are so concerned about hallucinations, but this is actually where the cool part happens. That's where the machines start thinking. That's where the new intelligence starts coming from, and the new approaches. And many of the famous sample cases, like computers beating Garry Kasparov in chess, or the Google DeepMind beating the Go champions, that is actually when the computer starts using that gray area to come up with completely new solutions. And now I forgot what the question was.
I think that's really, really good points. I'm not going to disagree with them, but I am going to play the however. I've got a great example of a hallucination that happened in one of my clients last week, and it is where their product, which I will not name, came up with a reference for a book used by litigation lawyers, Cook on Costs, and it actually created a whole paragraph and referenced Cook on Costs with a particular section which does not exist in that book. But the referencing was so precise that lawyer was like, if a junior, it's only because the senior was literally training lawyers to treat everything skeptically, but it is referenced, it's got a page number, it's got a version number, and these lawyers are used to taking evidence out of knowledge banks where they're looking for precedents, they're looking for examples, they are looking for that. So their mindset is, computer is serving up my information as if I've gone to the library to get it. That's what they're used to with Thomson Reuters, LexisNexis, knowledge banks, and that's what they're looking for. And then the AI engine is making stuff up and making it look like a valid reference, and then we're finding that book didn't exist. So absolutely, creativity, you can see why these powerful engines are really great examples for marketing, for logic solving, all those sort of things where they can rely on that. But when you're working in the guardrail of legal, where you've got to sit in front of a judge and say, this is the case, this is where the cause is, this is the accepted guidance, you can't just have a system which is making stuff up because it is trying to please you. And that, I think, is the difference between the general use of AI, which is really exciting, and that legal brain set. I think that absolutely summarizes up why lawyers may not be able to adopt it as much as other industries, because I think that is the black and white case between it that we just laid out there.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to add that I'm not saying that hallucination is not a problem and we should ignore it. It's a very serious issue. It's a very good it's a very important challenge to address, the same way that you have to be concerned about humans lying to you. And at the same time, I do bring the comparison point that if you look at the different studies, there was a study last year, I think, where they put the ChatGPT through US bar exam, and ChatGPT actually got better results. And I brought one example earlier from this 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀 legal AI report that document the Q&A, it's 94.8% accuracy for AI, 70% for humans. Summarization, 77.2% for AI, 50% for human intelligence. And you keep having those examples. And this is where I really challenge this kind of automatic assumption that AI is worse than us in making mistakes. It makes mistakes. You have to double check it. You have to triple check it. You have to be confident. Legal industry has the responsibility to be truthful for the customers, to the law. Of course, it's a very important topic, but it's also a topic where the positive news is that the technology companies are working really hard and organizations are working really hard in solving those issues.
I'm just like eating popcorn here virtually and enjoying it, like keep on going. But let's maybe, it's really like all this reliability and trustworthiness of the partnership with AI tools, like that's I think there's a lot of food for thought, and I hope law firm managers are involved in this consideration very heavily. But maybe let's try separating fear from fact. A lot of firms are paralyzed by these myths. The Australian drama with Deloitte, like more hallucinations, creating more ideas, more references that are not existing. So we've heard the infamous quote that a lawyer using AI will replace a lawyer who's not using AI. There was a week ago, there was like lots of jokes on LinkedIn where lawyers celebrated that we're back because, well, main Gen AI tools highlighted in the small print that their output is not to be considered as legal advice. So there's a lot of noise about the risks. Everyone's like, lawyers are really smart people, and they're very enjoy negotiating and discussing all the risks and all the small prints. But my question is inaction even riskier? So let's maybe enjoy a little bit the myths. What type of myths that, okay, it's impossible to use, it's not trustworthy. Could you share some myths that you've heard? Lembit, let's start from you. What type of, drama we could stir here?
The drama and the myths. I mean, the drama that I can bring in always is that I absolutely understand this fear side and the concern and the carefulness side, and all the way to the point that I am actually intentionally positive and optimistic, and I keep my eyes open, and I represent that side of the story and that side of the discussion. And the reason for that is that I very commonly say that I live in this kind of a whiplash world. In one hand, to stay abreast of what's going on in the technology industry, what are the developments with the models, what are the new developments in the usage of the models, and how they impact the working processes, how they impact actually the development of mathematics, how do they impact the development of science. And this is a very fast-paced, fast-moving world, exponentially growing. We all know the $1.5 trillion investment into the AI technologies, chips and data centers, and all of this year, and this is only increasing the following year. So this is a really fast-moving world with significant impacts to pretty much all aspects to our lives, or most aspects to our lives. And then at the same time, I come to the organizations and I have discussions, and I'm faced with, but it really doesn't work, and it's really I need to be careful, and it's lying to me, and ChatGPT gave me this wrong answer or another, or I didn't get the proper answer that I wanted. And this is completely agreed. Be very mindful. Pilot, test the specific cases, get the confidence, get the knowledge, and get the trust. And for successful implementation in Portata, I always say that you need to have three things. You need to have the strategic vision, you need to have the technological capability, and you need to have the cultural readiness. And if you have those three things, you can really start implementing and really taking a charge in those processes.
Let me
And
add the fourth one. Can I add the fourth one?
yes,
Stop
absolutely.
wasting time on generating more myths about AI. Start testing it rather.
Yes, a good point. But the other part, and then the positive side, I say that it's a bit FOMO side, but it's also a positive side. I do keep asking it, but are you actually ready in the future to compete with an organization where all the office work is done by an AI agent? All the physical work is done by robots, whether in the factory or humanoid robots. And all the transportation is handled by the self-driving cars and agents and robots who are loading those cars. So how are you ready for those type of scenarios, or how ready will you be? And this is a real kind of a challenging scenario, because there are many companies and there are competitors and there are business models that are coming out where people are working like this.
Considering EU, for me, it sounds like a lot of work for lawyers writing a lot of policies, isn't it?
You can see the trees coming, can't you, just to cover all that new world. And you can also see the rise of the Luddites sort of to fight against that, because there is a human element to this. It's like, what do people who would have done those jobs, what do they do with their times? And I think there is a big ethical debate coming on about, how much do we want this to happen? But it's going to be fascinating and thing to watch. But I think I'm not quite as enthusiastic as Lembit, because we do operate in a world where our clients all are very nervy about doing the right thing. I cannot emphasize enough the need to understand what you're trying to achieve before you go out and buy product. That is my number one thing here. And I do also think it's a myth that AI will replace lawyers, because yes, lawyers are to some extent administrators of a legal process, but actually a lot of their time is the client care. It is helping through people through very difficult scenes of their time. So, in that, yes, you can have systems which help some of that, but actually, if you think about when you engage a lawyer, they typically are at times where it's a very stressful point in your life. You're either a small business owner going through selling your business, or maybe going through a litigation, an employment thing, or it could be you're getting divorced or dealing with probate. And they are times where you need the human touch. And I think we need to remember, yes, lawyers can become more efficient through technology, but actually a heck of a lot of what they do is personal management of crisis. So I think AI will not replace lawyers. I think that is a myth. But I think it's an absolute cast iron fight. But where is the routine work, where there is commoditization, where there is automation, where there is sort of like mass document reviews, all of that sort of stuff is things where systems will be helping streamline the process and remove that. And if they don't do that, they're in big trouble, because, as Lembit has rightly highlighted, there are firms setting up to do this like this from the off. So I think it's about identifying where the human element adds value to the technological element. So going back to that boardroom point that Lembit made at the beginning, we are sitting side by side next to technology, and we know where technology can add value and where humans need to add value, and it's identifying that. So
David,
I think,
may I ask you to shift towards the successful examples or story, like what to do, how to embrace it, maybe what's worked recently in your experience?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was just going to finish up by saying, I see AI almost as the next generation of technology, and I think that's the first thing I'd say. Stop thinking about something new. Yes, it is. Some of it is new, some of it's emerging, but actually a lot of it has been around for years. Some of the stuff that's been sold as AI, and if you think of case management systems in law firms, for example, effectively automating of steps is a case management system. So this technology has been there for ages. So where I've seen it do really well, and what I think successful firms do is three things. It's actually to start small, think about trying many small things and learning through it rather than trying to do one big AI program. Think about what it is that we need to do as a business and find things to do that rather than trying to find one thing. You're not going to find one system that does everything for you anymore. So that one system approach isn't going to work. So it may be you end up with 3 or 4 different AI projects, and you basically try to get all three of them running at the same time and learn from them rather than trying to think one program is going to fix everything for you. So it's very much start small, measure, and then scale what works for you and drop off and kill things that don't work for you. And having a bit more of that entrepreneurial approach to your investment, accept that, you know, if you invest £100, you're not going to get it all back. There are some that are going to fail and some that are going to win. And I think that's the biggest mindset challenge that law firms have got, because they've just got the, we want to invest and we want to get guaranteed returns from our investment. And sometimes that might mean that your investment may lose in one area but win double in the other to cover the cost of the losses. And that is a very different mindset that a lot of law firms have got to their IT spend, where they're still in the IT spend should be 10% of turnover. And that's the big challenge there, I think, there. So I think as well, the leadership are, you know, probably my sort of age, think, oh, this is a bit too complicated. So how do you get them to buy in? And it's that simple one pager. You know, what's the pilot, what's the scope, what's the cost, and what are our success metrics and governance? How are we going to make this a success? So I think that's the other bit, is lawyers are skeptical, so show them that actually we're going to have those 3 projects. This one we know we're going to get return, this one we want to try, and this one's we're not quite sure. And you know, be very honest about that. If you overpromise as a technical person that every project is going to be a success, you'll end up with failure. So going into it in a pragmatic way is probably my secret sauce here, is just do not overpromise. I really liked Lembit, so I suggest I keep going back to it, but that I've got this output from Google AI, so I'm going to try it against OpenAI. And that mindset is just so powerful, isn't it? That, you know, don't just assume you're getting all the right answers from OpenAI. And that's really it. That trying small things and looking for the bigger results.
Yeah. Thanks, David. Lembit, is there, could you maybe have something to add for the cautious lawyers, for the cautious firm managers? How can they run a smarter firm today?
Yes, I think that actually David's insight was very good and very structured approach, how to address it and start using the technologies. There is one aspect that I would bring in, is that the sooner you start bringing in that intelligence and actually start using AI as a partner in this discussion as well. And the example that I can bring is that I'm using OpenAI's ChatGPT as my chief operating officer of my company. And I'm having actually very structured discussions. I took a little bit of time of setting up the expectations, setting up the custom GPTs, the custom prompts and everything like this. So it would be a very efficient, sharp partner who understands the way I like having discussions, that there would be no fluff and there would be no overall this overwhelming positivity and all this. And actually to do that, I actually use ChatGPT itself. So very, very often people say that, you know, when you're using language models, you need to use really good prompts and think about the prompts and how do you do it. I'm advising increasingly people to use the tools themselves for prompting as well. For example, when I research for an article, I start with asking ChatGPT that give me a deep research prompt for that particular topic, go as broad as possible. It gives me a solid prompt. We work a little bit on the prompt. Then I actually have both Gemini and ChatGPT Deep Research executing those prompts. So I have 30 to 50 pages of background material. Once again, I go through that. Maybe I use Notebook.LM to have a chat, 15 minutes to listen through the main topics and the general ideas that are coming from it, and all the way to actually they're working on the article itself. And so this is these are kind of very simple individual examples, but to the same level, bring in the intelligence to the boardroom, to the management meeting, to the partners meeting. Have it listen. We actually developed technology for one of the conferences here that enables to have the virtual avatar AI partner sitting in a meeting, or in that case it was conference, sitting in a meeting, listening to everything. When engaged, actually participating, really answering the questions, the topics, the new views, and utilizing those aspects. So use the AI as a partner as well. There is another aspect. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to it later. I don't remember. That where I see that legal industry has a huge ask from rest of the society, and it actually touches a little bit that was discussed here. Is that how the future will look like and what will happen when people don't actually have to work that much. And why I brought this kind of article is because I went through the process that just on Sunday I had an article in the Estonian newspaper where I was discussing the fact that what will actually happen and how ready are the societies to the fact that people may not need to work as much. That we how ready are we for the scenario for 50% of people not working, actually not having to work, that the technology is getting more efficient and bringing efficiency to the workplace, considering the fact that most of our economies and most of our tax systems are based on the personal income tax and social tax. How do we actually generate revenue for the state? So that's from the kind of the tax advisory standpoint. How do we reevaluate the entire tax structures? And the other part of it is when we do have those agents doing a lot of the work, when we do have those robots operating, how do we actually assign the responsibility? How do we actually adjust the relationships? Not between humans or between companies and corporations and between the state, but actually between the agents, between the robots, between the cars, the liabilities. So I think there is a tremendous ask and the expertise that is needed in those areas.
And for me, reverting to the legal industry, to the law firm management, for me, the tax system, the society sounds like, okay, the remuneration system in the law firm, the billable hour, how that should reflect the change that we're experiencing. But gentlemen, I feel that we could speak for hours here. This is very exciting, but I would rather sum up here and let's continue sometime next day. What I really find insightful was what you, David, mentioned, that lawyers, somehow we anticipate that AI will create something from scratch, but rather you both proposed use AI to analyze, to review, to work with you, not instead of you. So I think in emerging, growing companies in startup world, there is this moat. Everyone's speaking about what's your moat, how unique you are, what type of value you have, and I think law firms quite often forget that their moat is their data, their templates, their knowledge, their processes, their workflows that they have perfected over the years. So here comes Crespect, and what we represent is that law firm has so much billable and non-billable information, and if it's only in partners' heads or on your desktop, you will not be able to utilize AI. So smart operations kind of starts from the data, from the value of the data, what you have, and Crespect will come with an AI engine, with an intelligent assistant who will analyze your processes, who will analyze your patterns of invoicing, of billing, of business development activities, and can help you with, proposing better ways, faster ways of operating. So I see there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of potential to invite AI as a partner to the partnership meeting. There's a lot of potential to testing it, to trying it out, and thanks everyone who joined, who would like to keep on engaging in this discussion. Shout out, reach out to Lembit, to David. We'll revert to the questions, comments now. And if you're curious to see how we at Crespect utilize the data and put AI on top, feel free to reach out. So thanks. Let's wrap up. It's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.